Today, Carewell is the online fastest growing and leading provider of home health products.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Tech Times exclusive interview. Today, we have the pleasure of learning about Carewell, which is the leading marketplace for caregivers. And who better to tell us about Carewell than the CEO and co-founder, Bianca Padilla. Bianca, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to learn about yourself as well as Carewell. I think what you've done here is very unique and absolutely necessary. So just to get the ball rolling here, if you could please maybe tell us about yourself and a little bit about Carewell.
Absolutely. So I'm Bianca Padilla. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Carewell. And really the Carewell journey started right after college when I moved back home. My grandmother lived with my mom, and suddenly my mother and I had to become caregivers for my grandmother, who had a major surgery, and it left her pretty much immobile. And for the first time, we were kind of just thrust into this like medical role of acting as her nurses and caring for her wounds and managing incontinence and helping her stay mobile as best as she could, getting her to the bathroom. And we had, of course, no caregiving experience.
Right.
We have no, medical background, and we just felt completely lost. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, where do we even find the products that we need to do this work at home, right? Where do we find the information? And so I looked around and there was really nothing. Like the current experiences were, sure, if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can go and find that, on marketplaces. But if you don't, there's nothing for you. If you have questions around the products, well, guess what? Too bad. There's no one there that can answer your call. And so, as time went on, I realized that we couldn't be the only ones facing this challenge. Millions of people. And as I researched on this, I found out that there was more than 53 million Americans. It's 20% of the population who are acting as this informal caregiver, providing care and support to the vast majority of them are people who are aging, but there's a good portion who are sick or disabled, like with cancer. There's people dealing with disabilities with their children who are caregivers. And they are desperate for support and guidance. In fact, 84% of caregivers report wanting more information and guidance on all things related to caregiving. And so based on this overwhelming need, my husband and I decided to create Carewell. And really with the goal of becoming the most trusted source of support for family caregivers across all the products and information you need to best care for your loved one at home. And so today, Carewell is the online fastest growing and leading provider of home health products. And we offer a huge selection and growing of expert vetted products, 24/7 customer care in English and Spanish.
Oh,
and
wow.
these are people who are trained over 100 hours in all the products and the manufacturers that we sell, so they can guide you to the right one and help you discover products that you may and probably have never heard of that help you provide better care at home. And we also have a library of resources to help caregivers navigate this, all at incredible pricing and with super fast, free 1 to 2 day shipping. And so that's our story.
Well, yeah, I think your story is probably very similar to the story, especially, the beginning part, where it's just all of a sudden, right? Like you have this obligation to care for someone that you care about deeply. So you want to, there's the pressure of, being in that very difficult situation. And also, what do I do? Like, how do I do this? And, like you said, there's, I think you said 50 million or something people that are going through the same thing. So
And when you look at the population, right, and the demographic shift, we're about to go through the most dramatic shift in demographics in history, because we're going from 16% of the population to 20% of the population are going to be over the age of 65, right? So we've got this silver tsunami, and all of these people are going to need care. And, you know, it's not like you're preparing to care for a baby that you have 9 months to prepare for, and there's all these resources and communities of support. There's absolutely nothing like that for caring for this aging population. And so that's really scary. Most people, like, they know what a baby might need. And if you don't know, you can Google it, and there's lists.
Right.
Well, in this market, I mean, people don't even know how to search for these things, what exists, how to make a decision on purchasing them, how not to use the products, right? Because we're talking about life and death situations. We're talking about medical care for an individual. That's a whole different ballgame when you're figuring out how to manage a wound, right? And you want to keep it from drying out, or you want to keep it from getting infected and ending up, back in the hospital. I mean, these are really scary things, and you really need a lot of accountability. You need a curation, you need customer service, and you need support. And I think if you look at the retailers in the space, we're moving farther and farther away from that. When you just look at the trends of e-commerce, we started off as mom and pop shops, right? Back in the day, where they have a curated selection and they tell you, here's how you use these things. We know the manufacturers, it feels very personal. And with the rise of big box retailers and then online marketplaces, we've lost so much of that support. We've lost so much of that curation. It's made it really hard for certain spaces to get the help that they need. And so it might not matter if you're buying, a charger or a light bulb, but it really does matter when you're caring for the life of an individual and somebody who you love, right? It really is a more emotional need, like you mentioned, because it's scary. And the other thing too is we've lost a lot of accountability. So anyone could sell absolutely anything on these marketplaces from anywhere in the world. And that's a scary thing when you're thinking about, well, is this good quality? Is this going to impact my loved one in a positive or negative way? Is this the real product, right? If I'm buying a nutrition product, has it been tampered with? Is it expired? Is this even the right information that I need to care for my loved one, right? Is it asking me to do this correctly? So there's a lot of these questions that people will go through. And that's really where Carewell comes in and differentiates ourselves. It's through high quality content and support that's been vetted by experts like medical doctors and nurses, as well as caregiver authenticated. And the authentication part is really important, because the advice that you get from a medical professional might be very different than what it's like to care for a patient than it is to care for your mom. Right. If you're changing your mom's diapers, like, that's a very intimate thing to do between you and somebody that you're caring for, right? But it might be very different when you're a doctor or a nurse caring for a patient. It removes that layer of weirdness, right? And so we help also navigate caregivers through those really personal and intimate moments, and give them tips and tricks on how to, put diaper rash cream on in sensitive places, versus, a doctor who just put gloves on and put it right on. It's a little bit different when it's your mom. And so that's Carewell in a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah, I can completely relate. If I may, not without giving away too much personal information, I had kind of the same, my stepfather, actually, I had to care for him for a short period of time, and we were always very, very close. But like you said, when it comes time, to shower, and it's like, I love this man. I want to help this man, but there is that layer of weirdness. So, I would have loved to have some advice back, 15 or whatever years ago it was, 20 years ago. Yeah. So I think Carewell is something that, like I said, is absolutely 100% necessary, especially for the fact that most people are not, educated to a point where it's like, you look at it and say, oh, she needs da 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 da. Like, we don't know that stuff. And there's no time to actually sit and learn when, you're thrust.
There's no place. even if you wanted to go sit and learn, there's no place.
Right.
That's scary.
It's terrible.
I mean, so that's really where, again, we come in and we're building a company, right, to support the needs of caregivers, like no matter the life stage, no matter who it is that you're caring for, if you're caring for yourself even, and offering them all of the products and all the information. I mean, that's really important, is that content piece, that information, the guidance, that, you know, these retailers are just not going to provide. That's not their business model. Right. It needs, again, a different lens. It needs quality, and it also is, it's very personal, you know, it's very emotional, and that's where you just need something different. So it's, and one interesting thing that I'll mention too is that if you think about it, 100% of people will require care in their life. Right. We're all going to need care. And so when I think about it, I'm like, geez, I want whoever might be caring for me in the future to have the support that they need, right? Because I might not be in a position to help them, you know, especially if I need a caregiver. And 75% of Americans will be caregivers at one point in their life. So we're all going to go through this. And so I hope that we can get to where we want to get to as quickly as possible, so we can help as many people as possible over the next 100 years.
Right. Yeah, of course. And I think this also opens a lane for, you know, people that may be, I don't know, embarrassed, intimidated, afraid, unsure, you know, to maybe, you know, get the right ointment that they need and apply it themselves, you know, whereas before maybe they're like, I don't want to see a doctor, and then it turns into something, you know, that's just unstoppable maybe. So
yeah, it's true. That's a good point, because we've got this customer service team, right? Again, they're trained, they're over 100 hours of training, and they go through product training, but they also go through empathy training. And so what that does, it allows us to build relationships with that customer who may be embarrassed that they're calling about, you know, a rash, like you just said. And what's really nice is that not only do you know that you're going to get this support by someone who does know and is educated, but that it's, you know, it's pretty much anonymous. You don't have to see somebody face to face. That's a nice thing to be able to just, you know, speak. And we also train them on like which words to use to make them feel more comfortable, to share more information so we can better guide them. So the entire experience really is very thoughtful on how our approach is with customers and how we navigate and help them navigate that. We started off as a family business. It was me and my husband. I've got several family members who work in the business and have grown significantly. I mean, we're over 100 people at this point. But that was from day one. I mean, my husband and I went to the Disney Institute to figure out, how do we scale excellent customer service? Right. How do we create those moments of wow? And what we learned that Disney taught us was that those moments of wow are created, right? They're thoughtfully implemented into the entire experience, but also that it's all the little points, getting those little touch points correct, right? It's not about this one big wow moment. Right. It's about figuring out how to speak to customers, when to speak to them, how to provide them the information. And so we took a lot of those findings and built that in, and then we use technology to really power a more human experience that's seamless and easy. Really, it's like the superpower of our customer care team is technology. We have, you know, search engine internally that powers the Q&A. You know, so maybe if somebody doesn't know an answer, it gets documented, and a nurse comes and reviews that, so we can provide the right recommendation, you know, on a separate call. We have even things like when you call our customer care line and we know who you are, it'll say, "Hi, Christopher, welcome back to Carewell." Right? So it feels very personal, like a very unique experience, because what we've learned, and, you know, through personal experience, that caring for an individual is very unique, from their needs to the relationship that you have with that person, et cetera, and just how we think about the caregiving and the uniqueness of their journey. We think about that as, how do we create an extension of that? And also, how do we make it feel like an extension of your family, so that you're comfortable reaching out to us? so that you're comfortable asking us those taboo questions
Mhm.
that you don't want to bring up to anybody else. And then we make it really convenient to shop on the site. So we've got an auto ship program. If you want to set up recurring deliveries, one of the things we kept hearing is, hey, can you just send me this every month? Because I keep forgetting and I don't live with my mom. Another thing we do too is address verification and email verification.
Okay.
We noticed that customers would type in, the wrong email or the wrong address. And so they'd get locked out of their account and they didn't know if they placed their order. So we implemented both technology on the front end as well as human powered. So, we ask you, hey, this doesn't look right. This isn't valid, right? Please, please provide us a valid one. And if it still gets through and it's invalid, we then reach out to the customer and we say, hey, is this sure, before we send out the package? Because we know, it's incredibly overwhelming. A lot of times people are buying for somebody else and it's not their own address. And so we have all of these checks and balances systems to make sure that it's seamless for you. And we always go the extra mile. Even in managing passwords, actually, we noticed a lot of people, they forget passwords. How many times have you forgotten a password? And then it's just a hassle to reset and figure out and try to type. So what we did was we implemented very early on a one-time password system that just allows, and we see this now like in so many other services, but back then this was not very common to find, especially in e-commerce. And so that was something previously we did. And then lastly, accessibility. I mean, that's really important in the demographic that we serve, right? I mean, this is people from all walks of life, all stages. And so our team is strategically built a mobile first design with significant ergonomic considerations to make scrolling or browsing easier. And we also use ADA compliant, colors and fonts and font sizes to make sure that it's accessible to anyone and everyone.
Okay, well, yeah, it sounds like you've checked a lot of the boxes, to make things, as comfortable and as easy and as safe as possible. So that leads me actually to the next thing I wanted to bring up, was that Carewell was recently included in the top 100 most customer-centric companies of this year. Now, with all the things you just told me, and the fact that Carewell is family founded and was kind of derived from such a challenging and difficult time, do you think that plays kind of a role in Carewell more so focusing on individual needs rather than upscaling or profit margins or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. First and foremost, first of all, it was an honor to be mentioned or selected as one of the top 100 most customer-centric companies. I mean, the list included massive companies, and we're still early on. So it's great to see that we're doing the right things, and it's our hope and what we're building towards every single day to make this even more personalized and unique experience. But on top of that, we are also super fast growing. I mean, we were also mentioned in Inc. 5000's number 74 as the fastest growing companies in America. Oh, wow. And so we do balance this personalization and this human aspect while also scaling incredibly quickly. Mm-hmm. We can only do that through technology, which is what I was kind of mentioning before, right? But when you're set on accomplishing something, you can do it, right? So for us, my husband and I, John, we spent thousands of hours as our own customer care agents before we had any employees. Mm-hmm. And so when you hear the experiences of so many people, you really want to build an experience that empowers them, but also that celebrates and brings to light like what it is that they're doing. And so for us, it's super important that not only is it a differentiator against these other online marketplaces, but it's the right thing to do for customers. It's what they need, right? And so I guess does that help answer the question, or you want me to talk about something a little bit more specifically?
No. I think that's the perfect answer. Like, you dealt with it on a personal basis, and then as you were trying to fix the problem that you encountered, you also encountered how it affects other people, and therefore you basically you know, you understand from all different angles now. So I mean, obviously your company's going to do well if you have that level of understanding, I think.
Oh, I definitely think so. It really, again, you can't find a service like ours anywhere else at all, not even close.
Right.
And I mean, we're dead set on, you know, going all the way and having a massive company that provides this type of support to all 53 million caregivers, and really creating and the vision for the company is to create the place where caregiving starts, right? Because like we spoke about earlier, caregivers don't have a place to go. They don't have a place to turn. They don't know what to do. And so through content, through recommendations, through personalization, it's our vision to build an experience that caters to an entire caregiver's journey, right? So searching for the information that they need, personalizing the information that they need, depending on whether it's conditions or activities that they're performing as a caregiver, like bathing that you mentioned earlier. And then making sure that all of the intelligence we get on people's real life experiences, right? For example, you know, what are some tips and tricks for helping my dad take a shower?
Right.
That, you know, how do I do that at home? Helps us create better content that serves the needs of those caregivers. Right. And that content becomes more personal, more approachable, and more valuable. And then that helps us build better products that help us, you know, that help caregivers really provide better care, right, in their own homes. And so then that helps, you know, the recommendations that we get or the reviews that we get from that helps, again, power that kind of flywheel of customer intelligence, the personalization, and the creation of products, and eventually, hopefully, services as well.
All right. Well, yeah, that's, you know, like I said, I'm extremely happy that this is now a thing. You know, it's been needed for God knows how long. But okay, so we're almost out of time, but I do want to mention that you had the opportunity to speak for the 30 under 30 panel in Miami, I think. How exciting was that?
It was amazing. I mean, the mayor of Miami was there, who I think we all know is a huge just advocate for technology. And it was just a huge honor to be there and to be asked to speak. I'm a Miami native. I actually went to a coding school down in Miami. And so the founder of that coding school was there, and we were able to reconnect. And it's just really, it was a great time, especially after being on lockdown for 2 years, kind of seeing the community come together and see how much it's grown in the last 2 years, and the companies that have been started, and just the energy that's there. And, you know, I think Forbes and Bank Novo, who was the sponsor of the event, did an incredible job just keeping the momentum going. And I think momentum is very important. And I mean, it was just a blast.
Yeah, I can imagine. And in Miami, I mean, you know, who doesn't have fun in Miami, right?
Exactly.
So you mentioned coding, and I did do a little research, you know, that of course, you know, it was a bumpy road in the beginning for, you know, for your journey through, you know, the tech realm or whatever. So what advice, being someone that's, you know, tried and failed and tried and you know, is now, you know, experiencing a certain level of success, what advice would you give to that young person that has a great idea, but they just aren't exactly sure how to move, how to operate? What should I do?
It's a great question. I mean, the first thing I always tell everybody is really learn how to code. Coding is such an important skill set to have as we live in this technological world. And the better understanding you have of technology and how the internet works and how APIs work and how data flows through systems, the more ideas it'll spark and how to get you to where you want to go. I mean, for us, we bootstrapped this business for the first 3 years, right? It was just my husband and I really working overtime and, you know, doing consulting jobs on the side to fund this business. And it was because of my background in technology that allowed us to get pretty far, because I was able to, code our own systems and integrate things together and use different programs that I'd find. And I love SaaS programs and how we're growing in the codeless systems that are being built now. You don't have to be an expert coder to really make so much use and get so far in today's world. And that's a huge advantage when you're starting a business, is doing things cheaply, getting MVPs out, testing things with real users. And I think having a background in technology, even somewhat, helps you get there. And you can there's so many opportunities now to do online courses. There's boot camps. I mean, it's never been easier to learn about technology and coding in particular. And it's also really fun. It's a great way to build a community. It's a great way to learn a new skill set. But it's also just absolutely critical, I think, in getting you to where you need to be as a co-founder moving forward.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Bianca. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it's always so much fun to do these.
Right, absolutely. Well, and congratulations on everything that's been happening. From what I learned today, you and your husband definitely have earned it, I would say. So again, congratulations, and please come back anytime. I would love to have another conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you enjoyed this video you just watched, please hit like and subscribe. And be sure to stop by techtime.com for the latest in news about tech, science, business, and so much more.